a friend of a friend said you should try HelloFresh. It's unbelievable. So I went to their website. Now, I'm kind of a meat and potatoes kind of guy. So I hear fresh and I think it's going to be like lettuce and berries in a fruit cup. I'm on their website right now looking, and this stuff is unbelievable. I can't wait to get it. I'm going to get the cheesy smashed pork burgers with Old Bay fries. Now, I put Old Bay on everything. Corn on the cob, French fries. Me and John Stamos used to go to a place after Full House tapings called the Crab House, and we would put Old Bay seasoning on everything. So I can't wait. And I can't wait to start eating better. I need to do that. So HelloFresh.
Go to HelloFresh.com/FullHouseFree and use code FullHouseFree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/FullHouseFree with code FullHouseFree. America's #1 meal kit.
Oh, hi. Welcome to episode 2 of Full House Rewind. I'm your host, Dave Coulier. John Stamos is our guest on the show today, and he'll be joining us shortly. Now, what the heck is this, you're asking? This is a Joey Gladstone action figure. They're very rare. Now, here's the story on these. When Full House became such a huge hit, merchandising kicked in. There were all kinds of dolls and books and games, tons of stuff. So these action figures were created. The Uncle Jesse doll came with a cool guitar. The Danny Tanner doll included little dolls of DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle. And the Joey doll, well, if you bought the Full House house, you also got a Joey Gladstone doll. Well, it turns out no one bought the house. So a guy named Roger Schiffman, who was then the head of Tiger Electronics, said to me, "Hey, Dave, we have a ton of Joey Gladstone dolls. Do you want them?" And I said, "Sure, send them to me." And then several boxes of Joey Gladstone dolls started showing up at my door. That was right before the Christmas holiday. So I gave them out to family and friends as ornaments to hang on their Christmas trees. And with that, let's get to the show. Oh, someone's here.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Comet, what's going on?
Can I have one of those Joey dolls?
No, you'll just eat it, and they're for the Full House fans.
But I'm a Full House fan.
I know, but okay, just let me think about it, okay?
Okay, I'm probably going to stop by every day. Okay, love you, Dave.
I love you too, Comet. Today we're going to be talking about episode number 2, also known as our very first night. Here's what it says about our second episode on IMDb. Jesse takes the rap for DJ and Stephanie after they take advantage of him and stay up too late. Michelle gets her first tooth. There's a lot going on in this episode. The show opens with Joey and Jesse changing yet another diaper. We do a conga dance twice. There's music. We see the Rippers for the first time. But I think my favorite scene from episode 2 is in DJ and Steph's bedroom, where me, Bob Saget, and John Stamos tell the girls a bedtime story. It was really the center point of the show, which is the 3 guys parenting the 3 girls. We'd like to hear what you think about episode 2. Send us an email at fullhouserewind@podco.us. And you're going to love our special guest. What can I say about John Stamos? He was my Full House co-star. Before that, he was a teenage heartthrob on General Hospital. He starred on Broadway. He's continued to have an incredible career on television and films. He's a talented musician. And now he's the author of his new book titled, If You Would Have Told Me. I'm also proud to say he is my brother. Here's a pic of John when Full House was on the air. Please welcome John Stamos.
Can we hug?
Yeah, we can hug. Absolutely. It's going to take a while because,
That's good.
we're over here. We're not moving as fast.
I love you, Dave.
I love you
so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so proud of you
Well-
for everything that you've done. But this is going to be great because the world needs a Full House podcast. Like there's not as you say, there's what, 50 billion hashtags for Full House or something?
5 billion on
Let's say
TikTok.
50 sounds better.
Okay. It sounds larger.
And there's no podcast. This is fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you.
Honored to be on here, and I should have been the first guest, but second is fun.
Well, we had Jeff on because he created the show.
Let's ask 10 people. Who do you know, Jeff Franklin or John Stamos? I guess I'm thinking they would say me, but Jeff is fine. I like Jeff.
I think by episode 2, it's going to ramp right up to you.
If people want to tune in after Jeff, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it goes like this. The show starts like this and goes like that.
I don't know.
By episode 2, we're like that.
First of all,
how's Billy? How's Caitlin? How's your family?
They're great.
You're such a good dad. You just love being a dad, don't you?
My whole life I want to be a dad.
I know.
And you set an incredible example. I mean, to see you with your son now is so beautiful. He loves you so much, and you did such a great job with him. You're so proud of him. I hope I can be the father that you are.
I've known you, my gosh,
40 years or something?
A long time. 36 years.
Let's talk about the first time we met, too. But
36 years. We will talk about that.
Okay.
But 36 years. Let's go to your dad for a second. I became very good friends with your dad.
Yeah.
And I know how big of an influence your dad was on your life.
Yeah,
and
he's a good dad.
He was a great friend to me. We
loved you.
We had so much fun.
And I loved your dad, too. We
Yeah. Spooky. You always called him Spooky
He called
Tooth.
Spooky because his teeth, he had a spooky tooth, right?
Well, he would sneeze and a tooth would fly out. and I remember one time my nephew, I was holding my nephew, or my dad was holding my nephew Taylor, and my dad sneezed, and my brother said, "You better check his forehead for teeth." Yeah. But as long as I've known you, you've talked about being a father, and then I got to see you be a father, and it's a great thing to see for
thank you.
someone who I love so much.
You know,
to be so happy being a dad, it's great.
It was one of those things that I thought, I went through a rough period there for a while. Where were you during that?
I was there. I was there. I'm pretty sure it was you and me every day.
No, I mean, I had a rough run of it for a while. I was confusing the universe, and my loss of my dad was very hard on me, as you know, and then losing my mother. I was a mess, and I was just not being the guy that they raised. I was someone that they wouldn't have been proud of at that moment, and so I was going to meet Bob, and I write about this in the book. I was going to talk about the book a little bit, but this is in there. I was going to meet Bob, and I ended up getting a DUI, and I went to rehab, and I came out, and I had Fuller House waiting for me, and this other show, Grandfathered, and I said, I've got to straighten up here. I've got too much to lose, and so. But I thought having a kid was during my dark time. What I was trying to get to was that I was so stupid to think I've done it all. I could play with the Beach Boys. I've had a sitcom. Blah blah blah. I hadn't done it all. I didn't have a child. Didn't have a family of my own. I came from family. So
yeah, because you're really close to your family. I mean, Elena and Janine. Yeah. I mean, you're so close, and your mom and dad were so supportive. They were when we first started for Full House. Yeah. Your mom and dad were there a lot, and your dad would come up to me and go, "Hey, you know what, kid? You're really funny.
Yeah, he loved you.
People love you. Just keep doing what you're doing." You know.
He didn't like the show though,
but he loved us.
He ended up liking the show, and he did love us. And we met. So Jeff and I had a lunch first.
How did you guys get into each other's orbits?
I was on General Hospital, and that was a big success. It was
and you again.
Yeah, but I wanted to be.
Klugman.
Well, I was on General Hospital for 2 years, and I only had because Blackie was supposed to die after 5 episodes, so I hung around, and my mom, wrote all these letters in, and they kept me longer. And then I had this little contract for 2 years for $400 an episode or something. And they kept saying, "You got to stay here some more," towards the end. I said, "Nah, I think I want to be funny. I love sitcoms. I grew up, watching Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, the Gary Marshall stuff, And when it came time to renew, I remember talking to my dad. I said, "Dad, they offered me a lot of money, but I'd have to be there, a few more years." He said, wait. What did you say? Oh, a lot of money? No, I'd have to be there. I said, "You shouldn't be anywhere you have to be if you don't want to be."
Yeah.
I said, "That's the answer."
Good advice.
Yeah. And I had to tell Gloria Monty, "See, I want to be funny." And she said, "You'll never work in this town again." And I was 19 or 20, and I said, "Yeah, I think, no, I probably will. Yeah, I think I will."
But your dad had a way of cutting through the bull and getting right down to it.
Yeah,
he didn't mince words with anybody.
No. So I did this show, Dreams, and yeah, that's right. I did You Again with Jack
Was that
Klugman.
NBC Dreams? Was that an NBC show?
That was CBS.
It was CBS?
And then, I worked with Jack Klugman, and he would make me sit in the writer's room on Wednesday night, whatever the punch-up night was.
Yeah.
He'd say, sit in the corner and don't say a word. And then they'd have this table of Gary Marshall, Harvey Miller, Jerry Belson, the big comedy guys, right?
Yeah.
And I'd sit and watch them construct a joke and work on story. And Gary Marshall suggested me for the role of Jesse on, do you play guitar? I said, oh, yeah. Okay. My friends are doing a show, and, and it was Full House. And I met with Jeff. We had like a 2-hour lunch. I liked him right away. He was just a sharp, and he came from the Gary Marshall School.
Yeah.
We talked for an hour and a half about girls and Elvis and girls and movies. And we tried to figure out if we were actually dated the same girl. That was the whole thing. And we didn't say one word about Full House. And I go out to the valet and I'm leaving. He said, wait, what about Full House? I was like, there was no crossover of girls, right? He said, no. All right, I'll do it. I got in my car and left. And then I met you after that.
And you didn't think I was funny?
Well, I still don't.
We went to, was it the Mustache Cafe?
The Mustache Cafe, yeah.
And you got in a car accident first day I met you.
Well,
you remember?
Yeah, I was in that blue Mustang, baby blue Mustang.
Yeah, and you got a car accident on your way to the restaurant.
Yeah, I was kind of fired
And
up.
then I made fun of you years for the rest of your life about how crappy of a driver you were.
I'm not good. That's why I got
You're
this
not
Tesla,
good.
because so I don't have to drive.
You're not
but,
good.
Well, we sat there for like an hour or so, and Dave was
I was polite.
not funny.
I
And-
was being respectful.
No, I know. And so what happened was I got home and I called Jeff. I said, doesn't a comedian have to be funny? Isn't that one of the, he said, no, just go see him at Igby's. Go see him. And you came out and you did an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was I'd never seen anything like it. Maybe Robin Williams, but I'd never seen him in person. Oh, look, you blew the roof off the place. You were so charming and so entertaining. You did voices. You did great jokes. Watching your control was illuminating to me. Like you had the audience in the palm of your hand. You took them here, you took them there. You got emotional, you got real. You did these great impressions. You did Wizard of Oz. You did every voice. You did, and then Dorothy was like, "Wake up, Dorothy!" She was at the dentist or something, right? And I went back and I hugged you and I said, "Couldn't you do that at the restaurant? Why did I have to drive all the way out here to?"
I'm saving it for when we do the show.
And I just fell in love with you at that moment.
We were thick as thieves. We became best friends. We would go and we would shoot the show. We'd work all week. We'd shoot the show, and then we'd go and hang out.
Right.
We'd go to Vegas, or after work every day, we'd go to the Maryland Crab House, and we'd have dinner. Mm-hmm. That was when I first started smoking cigars, because we had a producer, Lenny Rips,
Right.
and he smoked cigars, and then you and I started smoking cigars.
Yeah, we did. We were single, and that this is where it's very interesting. And I talk about in the book a lot about Bob, and you have a great insight on it too. But Bob and you guys were friends, right?
Yeah,
Before.
I met Bob when I was 18. Yeah.
Yeah, and we did the pilot. I'm sure you talked about that, and we had another Danny Tanner, right?
John Posey, right?
And then Bob, Jeff said that he met Bob doing warm up at Bosom Buddies,
Right.
and he said, "Hey man, Jeff said I want to write a sitcom for you someday." And Bob said, "No, I'm not really an actor. I'm more of a comedian." Right then and there, he should have. No, but he didn't care, obviously. And then I remember Jeff came to us and me and you and said, "What do you guys think of this John Posey guy?" And we were like, "Uh-oh." And the network said, "Are you crazy? The pilot was great. It tested through the roof. We spent millions of dollars on the studio. Don't touch it." And he did a sneak. You and I did a sneak
On the Perfect Strangers set. Yeah.
Bob came in, and he was super funny. He was good, but we had chemistry, the three of us, that you can't pay for. And Bob and Jeff said, "That's it."
Yeah.
And I said, "Man, that's a baller move. Recasting a pilot that was already
It's like $1
picked
million
up."
to reshoot everything.
And he said, "I had a gut feeling." And I said to him, especially lately, I said, it was the greatest decision that he ever made, because it changed both of our lives, having Bob. And Bob, went on to make the world laugh for so many years. We're still processing the loss of him. It's just...
Yeah, it's left a huge void in our lives. We dedicated the first episode of Full House Rewind to Bob. I talked about how big of a heart he had, how he just loved people. And then there was also that other neurotic side of Bob where he would call you and then say, "I got to go." And you're like, "Bob, you called me."
What do you mean? Yeah.
I don't like to cook. I was even on a cooking show on the Food Network called Worst Celebrity Cooks in America, and I learned how to cook on that show, but it didn't translate back to my home life, because I didn't really come home and put on a chef's hat with an apron. I'm going to cook you a souffle tonight. A friend of a friend said you should try HelloFresh. It's unbelievable. So I went to their website. Now, I'm kind of a meat and potatoes kind of guy. So I hear fresh, and I think it's going to be like lettuce and berries in a fruit cup. I'm on their website right now looking, and this stuff is unbelievable. I can't wait to get it. I'm going to get the cheesy smashed pork burgers with Old Bay fries. Now, I put Old Bay on everything. Corn on the cob, French fries. Me and John Stamos used to go to a place after Full House tapings called the Crab House, and we would put Old Bay seasoning on everything. So I can't wait. And I can't wait to start eating better. I need to do that. So HelloFresh.
Go to hellofresh.com/fullhousefree and use code FULLHOUSEFREE for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at hellofresh.com/fullhousefree with code FULLHOUSEFREE. America's #1 meal kit.
Hey everyone, I'm Devin Werkheiser.
I'm Lindsay Shaw.
And I'm Daniel Curtis Lee, and we are the hosts of
Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide. Ever wonder what happened to Ned, Mose, and Cookie?
Well, we're back.
We helped you guys survive middle school.
And now we're helping you survive adulthood.
On Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide, we are rewatching episodes,
bringing you special guests like Coconut Head and Janitor Gordy,
and catching up on the last 15 years.
We're talking about everything from dating mishaps
to mental health and maintaining friendships.
And asking the question, how do we survive adulthood?
Maybe we don't always have the answers,
but we're going to figure it out together.
Come join us.
So pause that podcast you're listening to and subscribe to Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide
on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
He was the most humble egomaniac we'd ever met, right? And it was.
But we loved him. You know.
Oh my God!
You guys had a different relationship.
We didn't
than
like
I
each
did.
other in the beginning.
In the beginning, you guys didn't like each other.
It tripped. You said that you and I immediately had chemistry, and we worked on our stuff, man. Like, so the audience out there, like, we get a script and rehearse Monday or Tuesday, and Dave and I would get a bit, after, because what was happening was the writers and Jeff were watching us off camera too, and they were seeing our shenanigans, and they were catching our chemistry, and they started writing to us. And so they would give us these complicated, physical, funny bits, and we would make more out of them. But when you do those in the run-through, you have to be spot on, and we were.
Or it gets cut.
Yeah. Where Bob was just kind of like, And then we just started getting more laughs, and he thought, hey, I'm tired of being the straight man on here. And I think then they, Jeff said, well, let's do more of this cleaning, dust-busting thing. And he hated that,
Which drove Bob nuts, yeah.
As you know, and you're a comic too, but you found the middle ground where you would get serious when it was time to. And I'm sure I'm not sure, I know I drove everyone crazy because I was coming at it as an actor, and you guys, mainly Bob, was, comedy. So, and he was a laugh junkie. He had to get his hit. Yeah. And if he wasn't getting it from the audience, then he'd get it from the guy pulling the cable or this.
And I've often said this about you, is that, when I started working with you, I didn't know a lot of the technical aspects of working on a set with cameras. Yeah. You would move me in scenes. We would be in scenes, and you would just like very casually just turn me. And I was like, why is he turning me? And then I was like, that's why, because the camera's right there.
Well, you were probably upstaging too.
Well, you always told me I was upstaging you, but I didn't even know what I was doing.
Right. Well, Bob knew.
But I learned that from you because you already knew the technical aspects of working in front of camera, probably from the soaps. Yeah. Where, you're working with those cameras every day. Yeah. Plus, you'd done Dreams and a Klugman series. Yeah. So, I mean, you were already really accomplished. And I watched you. Well, and I tried to learn from you. And I think in a lot of ways, and I've often said this, we kind of pulled each other towards the middle.
Yeah. Well, for sure. Let me say, I mean, my whole life, I wanted to be funny. I would rather someone walk away saying, he was funny than he was handsome or whatever. And so, being next to you and Bob, it was a study. And you know how fascinated I am with comics and stand-up, which I could never ever do. The mechanics of it, the math of it, the way you guys use the words and the Rolodex that you. So I walked around studying you guys. I probably didn't tell Bob till later he was a genius, but he was a genius, and so were you, and so yes. So I think it took Bob a little longer to learn from us, I think, but once he did, once we got, I talk about it too, is that, I can't remember what season it was, 3 or 4, but your sister had cancer, Bob's sister.
He lost both of his sisters.
Right, but this was scleroderma, was gay, right?
Right, yeah.
And my sister then had a brain tumor. And all of a sudden, all bets are off. We needed each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's when all three of us, I mean, you and I were already, connected, but it took that tragic time to really make us, inseparable. And that was it. From then on.
And so the thing that happened was I got to see you become funnier as well. I mean, your comedic timing got really sharp, and it was those moments where you and I would work on those scenes, those Laverne and Shirley, Perfect Strangers types physicality. There was a lot going on in those, but we would rehearse and rehearse and rehearse.
We would.
And like you said, if it's not funny in the run through, it's out.
Right. Well, one of our first bits, I mean, on the pilot, I'm sure you guys talked about it with Jeff, was
the diaper?
Yeah, well, I've been saying this lately, and people take it the wrong way, but I came in like, we got to do this scene. Here's what the heart is. Here's what this is. Here's what that. And Mary-Kate and Ashley, beautiful, adorable, big blue eyes with the, screamed like they were being tortured in the middle of this, in this scene, and we couldn't get a word out. But it was so weird. I remember it because we really went back and thought about it. It's like screaming. We had to loop the whole thing too.
Right. Yeah,
screaming, and then we'd say our funny lines, scream, and then she'd stop, and Jody would go, "How do you roast the turkey?" Screams from the audience. And then as soon as our funny lines came in, she'd start screaming again. I said, get rid of those kids. Get rid of them. I can't, I'm sorry. We can't get through the thing. Well, but let's try some other kids. Then they brought in these other 2 kids. Do you remember?
The Renteria twins? Was it them? The Renterias?
Well, I think they were homely. They weren't attractive kids. I'm sure.
Sorry, Renterias.
No, it's not the Renterias.
Maybe you're handsome.
I don't know who the Renterias were, but they brought in 2 kids that were not, I'm sure they turned out to be. But they were very quiet. They didn't do anything, but they were sort of, homely. And I was a homely child too, but I didn't want to be an actor at that point, so it didn't really matter. And then I said, all right, get the Olsen twins back. I think they were just in the dressing room waiting. They made such a big deal. I fired the Olsen. I mean, they didn't go far.
Can we talk music? I've always been fascinated at what an accomplished drummer you are. And I've probably never really told you, but I've gotten to see you play with the Beach Boys, and I've never asked you this, but I'm a big fan of drummers. I saw Buddy Rich at the Comedy Store.
You did?
I saw him play there, and I was just fascinated. I would see him on The Tonight Show, and I would watch Buddy Rich, and I would just say, that's impossible. That is like incredible dexterity and timing and stuff. And you have that. But I've never asked you, but my favorite drummers are Keith Moon from The Who. Yeah, I love Keith Moon.
Talk about this.
And I love Neil Peart from Rush.
Both dead, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But I never asked you, who, was there drummers who influenced you, growing up? I never got a chance to ask you that. And I
started off playing jazz, when I was a kid, which I should have stayed with, Buddy Rich and all those guys. I actually sat next to him on a plane once.
Buddy Rich?
Yeah, it was not much of a story, but it was Jack Klugman. We were coming back from New York. We filmed these the titles to that show. And he was with his girlfriend, and I was by myself, and it was Jack and the girl. And then I saw an empty seat next to this guy with a hat. And then, hey, Jack, and Buddy, and they were saying hi. Buddy. I always wanted to play drums on TV, and when I was on General Hospital, they wouldn't let, they weren't exactly taking requests, I want to play drums. I'm like, yeah, shut up. And so one morning, I was getting ready for work. I said, Dad, who's this guy, Sammy Jr. something? He's on the show today. He's like, what? Sammy Davis, do you know who he is? You get over here, you dummy, You never heard of the Candyman? I was like, yeah. Oh, that creepy song that weird guy sings in Willy Wonka at the store? Why you gotta make a joke out of everything? And I say, okay. He said, no, Sammy's the greatest. You gotta study Sammy. You gotta study Frank. I said, okay. What do I talk to him about? He said, talk to him about drums, because he was a drummer, Sam. So he comes on set, and it was like, whoa. And he came up, and he could tell that I was like, and he came up and said, hey man, I'm a big fan. He's a big fan of mine, and so there was a set there, and he was singing. He was playing someone's uncle, and it was a talent, a benefit. And I was hosting it, my character Blackie, on the waterfront. I was trying to raise money for where I grew up on the street. I said, Mr. Davis Jr., they won't let me play drums on here, And again, there was a whole band set up, and with drums and everything. And he goes, what? So we talk about drums. He goes, okay, hold on, man. and you could hear his little heels like click, 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 click. And he comes back and he was very serious. I remember this thing just, okay, man, in the scene, just do what I say, man. And I'm like, what? Just do what I say. Okay. And I introduce him, and then he gets up, he goes, totally ad lib. Blackie, you play drums, right? I'm like, yeah. And I get up, and he goes, we do a little jazz, 1, 2, 3, and he's on piano. And it was this moment, he looked at me, and I looked at him, and it was like I was accepted in the club or something.
Yeah.
This 40 years difference between us.
So were you a band kid, or?
Yeah, I was a band geek.
You were a band geek?
I was in marching band.
Marching band and all that stuff. So where did that come from? Like all of us, you were just interested in playing drums, and you decided I'm going to get in the band. And
Well, I wanted to get chicks.
you wanted to get girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was dorky.
Musicians.
I was a dorky kid at school.
Musicians always get the cute girls.
Well, yeah. But I just have music. I've always loved music. It's just, and I've always loved, I understand rhythm. I'm not a great singer, and I've worked with, some of the greatest singers on the planet who are so intimidating, like I understand rhythm and melody. I love melody, but I'm not a, you and Bob had better pitch than I did. When we sang those songs.
I've been at your house where just world-class musicians show up and you guys just start jamming. Have you ever been on stage playing with someone and you go, wow, how did I get here? John Stamos from Orange County. How did I go from being a band geek to I'm on stage with...
If you would have told me.
Which is the title of your book.
Yeah, because I always, I can't believe it's same with you. I'm sure you have these moments. Everybody has those. If you would have told me moments, but
didn't you hang with Elton John one time? You were somewhere, and he was just like, I forget what the story was.
Well, we were having dinner, and he had food in his teeth, and I'm like looking at it. And I'm looking around at the people, and no one's saying anything. I go, Elton, you got something in your teeth. Let me see. Like, thank you for being honest with me. But what the life is that we've led is just, God, the appreciation that I have for it, the gratitude is just, especially now. Don't you look back and go, my God, we made
it was amazing. It's been amazing.
Do you remember? So my friend worked at this restaurant, Roger Lodge, up at Santa Pictures, and John Fogerty would come in all the time, and they would talk about sports. And Fogerty's daughter got hit by a car. She was okay, but she hurt her leg. I don't know if you knew this story.
Oh.
And so John asked Roger if I would come say hi to her. And I said, sure. I wanted to meet John Fogerty. And I go to his house and say hi, and she was doing okay. Her name was Lindsay, and I said to John, I said, we're having a Christmas party in a couple of weeks. Can I invite you guys? And he said, yeah. Okay, you want to come to the Christmas? Yeah. So they come to do you remember? We were at
He played.
We were at this Mexican restaurant in Culver City somewhere, this small little place, and I had a band set up there, and there's John Fogerty sitting there, and he hadn't played Creedence songs for the longest time. He was in a battle with the publishing. And he's sitting there, and I went up to him and said, I don't want you to think I invited you just because, to play, but I don't want to be rude. And he was like, would it be okay? Yeah. He gets up there and goes, oh, you guys know Proud Mary? I'm like, yeah, we know it. Play that. Then he wants to be the guitar player. Just play guitar in the rap party, at the final episode of that. So here's the moment I was getting to. I'm sorry. But so he invites me to his birthday, his 50th birthday. Living room, a little bigger than this, but, not as big as the Full House because that kept going. And there was maybe 50 people there. And he has a little band set up, and he says, Stamos, come and play. I'm playing, singing his hits. He didn't, he hadn't sang them in a long time. And we finished the song, and I'm getting ready to get off the drums and give it back to the drummer. He goes, Bruce, get up here. Bruce Springsteen walks up in the crowd. And we played for like 45 minutes. Fogerty, Springsteen, me. So, yes, that's one of those
that's a
moments.
pinch yourself moment.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Every day is a pinch myself moment, just that, to be alive. But that one.
So where did that connection with the Beach Boys come from?
I loved them. I was obsessed with them as a kid. In the summer, just got me. The first time I played was in San Diego. I was just telling one of your crew guys here who lives in San Diego at the Padres Stadium, and Jeff Foskett, I knew him, and I was kind of down in the dumps. I'd just been broken up with, and my friend Jeff said, "Come to the Beach Boys show. I don't know if I could introduce you, but I'll try, whatever." And he says, after fun, and before Barb ran, they do they go off stage, and then they come back. That's a baseball stadium. And I say, so I hear the end of fun, and he goes, make sure you're back. The thing ends, and I walk onto the field, and somebody on the field says, backstage is that way. And I'm looking, and I hear these screams. I'm 18 or not. I think it was just on General. And I hear these screams. I was like, what's all the commotion? I was like, oh no, the commotion is me. They're coming at me. There was like 30 cheerleaders. And then I go, oh, damn. And I turned around, I started running, and I'm running like an idiot. I'm running the bases, because we're on a baseball field. I look up on the Jumbotron. There's that dummy with my skinny Jordache jeans. These girls out pretty much catching up to me because I'm like, you tell them I'm a terrible runner. And I finally, I'm out of breath. And I see the backstage and I dart back there and they close the door just in time. And I'm sweating and I look up and it's my heroes, like all five. They're all there and they kind of slowly look at me like, who is this weirdo, And they hung out with Manson, so. But that was the first time. And so I got up and played Barbara Ann and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Like, what am I doing here? And then it hasn't stopped. Do you remember when you came on stage with us at Pine Knob?
I came on stage at Pine Knob.
And Rob Lowe was there that night. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I have video and pictures of that.
Wow.
Maybe we should show pictures.
You always had a video camera. You have some of the most amazing footage from right when we did the Full House pilot. You had all that footage. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
My mom did too, and that's when when I was like, I got these offers to write books. I was like, I'm not gonna write. What do I have to?
I want to talk about your mom because I really loved your mom. We're working on this show, and I had a few friends in California, but your mom and dad really adopted me.
Yeah.
I mean, we went on vacations together up to Lake Tahoe, and I would stay with you guys, and they were so kind.
You would golf with my dad.
I would golf with your
dad.
dad.
That golfing story?
It was one of the hardest times I ever saw your dad laugh. He couldn't
You
stop
laughed
laughing.
too, right?
We fell down laughing with something that happened on the golf course, much to the detriment of some ladies who were playing. It was an innocent thing that happened, and it was just one of those weird golf moments where a golf ball hit a woman. So, but your mom and dad were so kind to me, and they were always so positive and supportive of you and the show.
Yeah.
Your mom was there all the time. But one thing I noticed about you is you're kind of split down the middle between your mom and your dad. Your mom was like Earth Mother, cared about everybody.
She had enough love to fuel a small country.
She was so loving, and your dad was very kind of cut to the moment, cut to the quick, no BS.
Yeah.
You're kind of both of them because you do so much charity work. You love kids, you help kids. You and I have done charity work, but I don't think people know the wide scope of charity that you do, and that's part. It's really kind of part your mom, and part your dad because you work hard too, and your dad was a hard worker.
My dad set a great example of discipline, but the best thing that I learned from him is that, and you can attest to this, is he owned restaurants, fast food. He would treat the busboy the same way he would treat his best customer.
Yeah,
he didn't care what you did, how much money you had, who you were, who you weren't. He would treat if you were a good person.
Didn't you work there?
Yeah.
You flipped burgers there, didn't you?
Yeah. I was a Sunday guy. And when I got on General Hospital, he wouldn't let me quit. His dad, the show was airing and people were coming in going,
you're a big TV star.
Exactly. My mom also, and this was sort of another impetus to write this book, was that she left me little notes. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those, but she would write little notes and I'd have some and some she'd just tuck away. And then I became a father. Then Bob died. I was like, well, maybe I do have something to say. But I started off with these notes from my mother. And like a week after she died, I was at my absolute lowest, right? And I found a note that she had left. It said, life is an occasion, rise to it. Don't be sad because I died. Be happy because I lived. I had a... And those, and I put those to the book and I say, I hope you can make some of these notes your own because everybody deserves to be, special.
Well, let's talk about Bob. He meant a lot to a lot of people, as Danny Tanner, but he meant a lot to you, meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
We really were brothers. Now, when Bob, it was such a gut punch.
Yeah, it was just...
And I learned that Bob passed away. You called me. Was the first person.
Yeah, and for some reason I said, Bob Saget died.
Bob Saget.
Why did I say
You said Bob
name?
Saget died. And I thought, why is John saying, normally it'd just be Bob.
Yeah.
But then it hit me so hard, and I didn't know how to react. I still don't. We had so many funny bits that I want to. Sometimes I'll just be driving in my car and I'll go, "Oh man, I just want to sing that opera stupid stuff we used to do," and I can't. And I only had those bits with him. It's like is like, if you weren't here, there's these Tootliapa peas and all these silly, stupid things we do.
Yeah.
It'd be like it left a huge hole in both of us.
The saddest part for me was that he did not know how loved he was. I mean, when he died, it was a tsunami of love. Like, I'm not being funny. Like, I don't even remember a person before Bob getting that much attention when they passed. Maybe, Princess Diana or something, but right. I mean, and that's the sad part because, he was very hard on himself, as you know, and then he, we talk about him being, an egomaniac. He wasn't, but he had to puff himself up because he felt so bad about himself. He didn't realize how brilliant he was. He didn't realize how loved he was. And that's the saddest part for me. And I like to think of him still up there, on stage and killing it and people laughing. And when I saw you at his funeral, that, just drop to your knees, that was the whole thing was just, it's still unbelievable. But here's the lesson from him, and you know this too. He never left anything on the table. Always said, I love you. I care about you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. You're my brother. I love you. And that's, tomorrow's never promised, folks. So,
and just all the charity work he did, all the scleroderma stuff.
Yes.
I mean, pretty amazing what he was able to accomplish because, his sister Gay died from scleroderma. I'd never heard of scleroderma before until.
I'm trying to think of some stories that we haven't talked about that people really. But remember the night? I think it was. Well, we went to visit Bob's mom in the hospital.
Dolly.
Yeah. And she had a few days, right?
Yeah. She was dying.
We went to see her, and she was angelic. She got all ready for us. She got her hair done, and she.
And I walk into the hospital,
Right.
and she's sitting there.
Yeah.
And you and Bob were already there, sitting at Dolly's side.
Yes.
And she was happy.
Yeah.
She was so happy you guys were there. And she was just like so
peaceful.
filled with so much grace and peace, and just like she was welcome. And I said, I walked in, and you guys were sitting there, and I said, Dolly, you look like an angel. And she goes, not yet.
Right.
And it was such a Bobism.
Yeah. Well, you know where he got it. And his dad was like that too, right? But then then Dave has a bit of a gas issue. I don't know if you guys have talked about that yet, but
I'll get into it.
The crew knows. And Dave, had a little bit of a gas issue. And Dolly, Bob's mom, picked up her perfume thing and just started squirting Dave's butt, to get the smell out. And that was it. And then she died.
That's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I think you killed her. You might have killed her.
No, I don't think so. That's awful.
But then we went back to your house, right?
We sat by the fire.
And we sat by the three of us.
In the
and my
backyard.
mom was sick then, and your mom was sick then.
Yeah.
And we just started thinking about life and death. And
well, you, me, Bob, and Jeff, we all lost our moms within like 9 months.
Yeah.
All four of our
But
moms.
that I'll never forget that we just sat around and we laughed and we cried.
We cried and
it was a lot. And then Bob and I left in the same car, and you stood at your doorway with your pants down waving to us.
Yeah, well, that's what you do for your brothers. Yes. That's what you do. That's how you show love.
The saddest thing too with Bob is like the three of us were, team, we don't have that. It's but then someone was talking about a full house, never, not without Bob. Bob used to joke, the Fuller House, and then be Fullest House.
Fullest House.
He would be in an urn.
And an urn up on the mantelpiece.
Do you remember when his book came out? And it was very dirty and weird. And do you remember it?
Yeah, of course.
But so, and for whatever reason, the night he died, I put on his audio tape. And it gave me such comfort. I don't know why. And I listened to it every night when I went to sleep. And one morning I woke up and I was like, did he say that in his book, did he say he hit his head and that's how he died? And I'm like, no, that could. And I went back to it, and he talks as a joke. He's, I hit my head and called TMZ, and I died.
Wow.
And he was like that, huh? Remember
Crazy.
we did the first you did an early podcast.
Early podcast at my house in Encino.
Yeah.
And you guys came over, and we goofed around so much, we never got anything.
No, but he taught, at the end of it.
But I do remember where you're going.
Yeah, tell it.
Well, he did that thing where he's, this is the last thing I say, I go,
yeah, he played like he was dying.
Yeah, he's left a huge void in our lives,
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew him way before Full House.
Yeah.
I met him when I was 18 years old. I was a young comic in Detroit, and here's this guy, and he's just crushing on stage, and I thought, wow, that's what I want to be. You know,
And didn't you moved out here? And he said, "Why don't you stay at my house?"
I stayed at his house. I couldn't find an apartment in L.A. and he said, just sleep on my couch. And then we do Full House, and I move in and sleep in the alcove.
In Full House.
Yeah, so it was, life imitating art. Where's Property Bob? We had a prop guy on Full House. His name was Bob Richardson, and we called him Property Bob.
Yeah.
And we go up to him and go, hey, Proppy. You were always hugging him. Why were you always hugging him?
Why not?
Every cast and crew photo, you're like laying down next to him doing this.
Because
You're like,
Dave, it's funny. I learned comedy from you.
There you
That's
go.
What I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was characters
why'd
on
you
there.
like him so much?
I don't know.
He was a good
I
guy.
like everybody.
He was a good guy.
This show was not a hit the first season, too.
No.
If you remember, or maybe Jeff talked about it, but it was kind of lumping along, and then Jeff and Bob and Tom got called into the network, Brandon Stoddard, and they said, we're thinking about canceling the show. Like, did Jeff talk about this?
No, but I know Jeff talked a little bit about it. Yeah, but it's always interesting.
Yeah,
What's your take on it?
Well, he said, it's not, you guys aren't doing great. Why should we pick you up, basically? And Jeff said, well, here's the future storylines and blah, 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 blah. And he said, yeah. And Jeff could see that he was sort of glazed over, and we were on the bubble, as they say, and
Right.
it wasn't looking good.
Yeah.
Then Tom and Bob were kind of wrapping up the meeting, apparently. Well, thank you. Ever politicians, well, Full House doesn't work out. We'll get you. Jeff said, well, hold on. I want to show you something. And Tom and Bob didn't really like surprises. They're like, come on, Jeff, time to go. And he brought a scene. Do you know the story? I guess you don't.
No, I haven't heard this one.
He brought a scene. He brought that scene of you, me, and we were trying to give Michelle medicine. Do you remember? And
yeah.
it
It goes
cough
in my
medicine or
mouth?
something. Went in my mouth at
Oh,
first.
went
I
in your
think,
mouth, yeah,
and the whole thing. And it was like, that was the show. Like it was, we saw the chemistry of the guys and our connection to the Michelle.
Well,
And Jeff said, that's the show. It's the show about parents learning how to parent.
Yeah.
And three lovable guys, and we'll do guy stories, but it's mainly a show about a family.
because I remember Bob and Tom bringing us into a meeting.
Mhm.
It might have been after rehearsals one day, and they said, we've really decided that this show is a family. It's a family show. Because in the beginning, it was three guys raising three little girls, and we were going on, out
That's
with
family.
girls.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, right.
With like sea cruise.
Yeah,
we
right,
did,
right.
With Roxana shows up, and
I don't know what you're talking about, sure, yeah.
but it was three guys,
Right.
that were going to have girlfriends and stuff, raising three little girls. And then when they really kind of sat us down and said, okay, it's a family show. Families come in lots of different,
Right.
different, forms. You guys are a family. And after that, I think we kind of kicked into an operating system that just worked, and it became Full House.
As the years go by, more divorces, more same-sex marriages, and every family doesn't have to look like a mother, a father, and
Right.
3.2 kids. And
Right.
we were the first to go, like, it's okay if you don't have what people think is an ordinary family or a regular
Right.
family. Well, I was told it was bosom buddies with three guys and some kids. The kids were a kid show or an animal show. We had a lot of animals on the show. But it was pitched to me like that. And then all of a sudden, and I remember Jeff really doing a lot of work on casting these girls. I go, he's putting a lot of work in for the kids that aren't going to be in the background, And then it became that. I was like, get me off of this show. Like, what is this? Because we were. So it took me a while to embrace it. And then I remember some guy coming up and saying, I really love your show. And I, really? Yeah, I said, I'm a dad. I got 2 kids. We're divorced. But my kids can look at your show and go, that's a normal family, so we're a normal family.
And they ripped on us. The
Oh my
reviews
God.
were terrible.
I mean, they were terrible.
Yeah, they hated us.
I went on Seth Meyers and read a bunch from Fuller House. They were even worse, comparing
Yeah.
us to necrophilia and stuff. Bob really came into his own when he got America's Funniest Home Video. It was huge. And then we got along better after that too, because he felt a little more. And then you got your show.
Then I did America's Funniest People, and
Yeah.
you used to always make comments about how bad our shows were.
No, I didn't
Yes,
do that.
you
No,
did.
here's what I did. I used to get you guys in fights. Whose show is better?
know.
And you'd say, my show is better. And Bob say, you say, well, I have a sexy co-host. And Bob would say, I don't need a co-host. I'm so funny. And I would get them fighting like crazy. And then I'd slip away and go get a turkey sandwich somewhere. He had the first computer. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And then we got him, and they gave us a free AOL thing so we could talk to kids and sick kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started bringing kids from Starlight and Make a
Yep.
Wish to like the Thursday tapings. And at one point, the whole floor was covered in wheelchairs and kids, and it was, and then you guys picked up on it fast. I was so proud of everybody because you guys got involved, and we all got involved, and that's when I could say F you critics, because we didn't make it for you. We made it for these people, these kids. And when we connected with the Olsens, that was beautiful too. Do you remember when they brought their little sister down and she loved to be tickled? Lizzie, yeah. Elizabeth Olsen. And the Olsen twins own New York. I just read it. They bought the whole island.
I wanted to ask you, how'd you become friends with Rickles?
I met him, I was sitting next to him at Tony's Taverna, this Greek restaurant we used to go to. And I was kind of bored with
Love you. That guy, Tony.
And we just connected. Now, this was during a time when there was no comeback. Like people thought he was dead. Nobody knew that he was still alive, vibrant, and so funny.
Yeah.
And I just paid attention to him. Like a lot of these older guys, I just paid attention. I would take him to dinner and we would talk. And eventually we became, he would say that I was like a son. He lost his son. He was young. And, so I kind of filled that for him for a while. And we would talk on the phone for hours, like two schoolgirls just talking about it.
Does Billy, your son, watch Full House? Has he ever watched it?
He's starting to watch it.
Is he?
Early on, I'd be like, Billy, go put your toys away. You got it, dude. Yeah, he thinks you're funny too. He does those lines, but he kind of he likes it. I got a gig on I think I called you because it was the first cartoon voice that I
Iron
did.
Man, the Iron Man.
No,
thing?
before that it was, he loved the show Mickey's Adventure or something, and I played this pirate. I think I called you and said, "How do a pirate?" And he said, "Just be yourself and angry." and then he got tired of that, and then his show was Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and I do Iron Man's voice in there. But he's starting to get it. We're really clicking on a lot of things now. He likes music.
What age is he now?
He's 5.
5. Wow.
And
kindergarten?
He's funny. Yeah, he just started kindergarten. Well, he starts this coming up. He's funny, and that's again I wish I could tell Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, I remember when he was born after about 6 months, I was like, I'm not really connecting with this kid. I thought I'd wait my whole life to have a kid. I can't, Bob said, wait till the first time.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Instant connection.
Yeah.
So you're writing this book, if you would have told me. Did you finally think to yourself, I've got so much history, I need to get this out of my system?
No.
What did you think?
I just thought it was, I never, ever, ever dreamed of writing a book. I thought, forget it.
It's a lot of work.
I didn't even know where to start. I was like, what am I don't, no. And I turned it down and I thought, all people care about is talk about the girls. I'm not going to do that. And it wasn't that, you were there. It wasn't that interesting anyway. That's the problem too. I got caught up for a long time trying to be this Lothario that people thought I was. And I didn't give them any reason not to think it. And it was, bad trying to, be that guy that people needed to live through vicariously. I think once I got away from that, it got better. But so no book. And then I became a father, and that was something I could talk about. And then Bob died. And then it was interesting that it came around and they kept asking, you should write a book. And I think it was after they saw, I wrote that nice eulogy in the LA Times about Bob.
Yeah.
I said, you should write about it. I said, okay. And what I started off with, my first, when I had that terrible night, I was going to meet Bob at the Palm, and I got a DUI, and it was terrible. And then, so I wrote that chapter, and then I wrote the and how I dealt with grief back then was, bad. I just went to the wrong things.
Yeah.
And then it's now the last chapter, the day that I found out Bob died, and I talked all the way through that, and how I've evolved, how I dealt with grief then, and how I deal with it.
You sent me a little snippet from it, and I found it to be really well written, but honest.
I was just reading this part.
What are you looking at there? You've been on your phone here.
Well, I've been trying to.
I must not be a very good
TikTok.
interviewer because you're on your phone.
No, you're the best. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find this. I just did this yesterday.
Is this from the book?
I wrote it, and I hadn't really said it out loud, but some of this was just talking about this struggling little show that I fought with every fiber to, get off, became the highlight of my career, our career, right? Full House turns out to be one of the most quintessential important family shows of the 20th century. On the surface, it's simple as hell. In the subtext, it turns the notion of a conventional family on its ear. I mean, think about it. We didn't raise an eyebrow telling the story of 3 men living in San Francisco raising 3 kids, right? This was a show where the central character wasn't any single role. It was love. We couldn't cast it. You can't write it. You can't predict it. Something special happened. Something magical happened. All the stars lined up, right? At first, I don't understand why Full House was so popular or so meaningful to people. But eventually, when it touches my own heart, then I was talking about critics too, and the intellectual critics who hate the show, they don't hurt us. We knew it was corny. We knew it was facile. We knew it was cliched. I agree with them there. But here's what they miss. Those scenes where sophistication leads to sweetness. The places where vulnerable kids and animals suddenly have all the power. Moments where the brain steps aside and the heart can feel something. The enduring popularity of this show is a testament to the power of the universal human experience, right? It's warm comfort food. And decades later, people are watching because they miss that.
Well, if you would have told me, we do get to do one more thing before we say goodbye, and because it's time for Cut It Out.
Cut it out.
Every episode of Full House had a heartfelt scene, and we have cut out a scene from episode 2 that, well, you and I are going to read together. So you got your script.
Yeah, I don't memorize for free.
You are, surprisingly, you're going to play the role of Jesse.
And who are you playing?
I play DJ and Stephanie. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Sure.
And
wait a minute.
Action. Uncle Jesse?
Whatever it is, the answer is no.
We just wanted to say thanks for trying to keep us out of trouble. The only reason we took advantage of you is because you had no idea what you were doing. From now on, we will be good and do whatever you say. Steph, don't get crazy.
I don't really even talk in this scene. I don't know why you...
You can cover up my bunnies if you want.
And you don't even sound like them. Why? Well, that's all right. Your bunnies are starting to grow on me.
We really love you.
I love you too. Sternly, I am. But next time you pull that stuff on me, I'm still gonna love.
Let's give it up for John Stamos, my brother. Man, it was great having John Stamos here for episode 2, giving us some great Full House trivia, some fun facts. Here's some more Full House trivia. Did you know that episode 2 is the first time that we get to see Jesse and the Rippers, who are, set up with amps and drums in our living room? Gary Griffin, who was one of the Rippers, ended up writing a lot of musical stuff for Full House, and he does the music right here at Full House Rewind. Gary toured with Brian Wilson for years, and he's such a talented and funny guy. Lanny Cordola, also one of the Rippers, is an extremely talented guitar virtuoso and studio musician. Oh, somebody's here.
Hey, Dave, were those guitars made of wood?
I'm pretty sure they are. Most guitars are made of wood.
That is music to my ears, Dave. You know what my favorite concert was?
What's that?
Woodstock.
Good one. Great reference from the 1960s, way before Full House.
Jimi Hendrix could really play that axe.
Another good one.
In fact, I loved all of those acts at Woodstock.
Okay, that's enough.
Bye, Dave.
Bye, Mr. Woodchuck. Boy, who would have thought Mr. Woodchuck was a Woodstock fan?
The Who, they played at Woodstock.
Okay, I appreciate your musical knowledge. We close every episode of Full House Rewind by giving all of you who need it a hug. So here it is, your Full House hug. Come on, bring it in. There you go. That's our show. We'd like to thank John Stamos, my brother, for stopping by. And thank you for listening and watching, because you are the heart and soul of Full House Rewind. Now, go out there and share the love. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Full House Rewind. To watch clips from the pod, go check out the Full House Rewind Clips YouTube channel at the link in the description. And we'll see you next week.
Hey everyone, I'm Devin Werkheiser.
I'm Lindsay Shaw.
And I'm Daniel Curtis Lee, and we are the hosts of
Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide. Ever wonder what happened to Ned, Mose, and Cookie?
Well, we're back.
We helped you guys survive middle school.
And now we're helping you survive adulthood.
On Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide, we are rewatching episodes,
bringing you special guests like Coconut Head and Janitor Gordy,
and catching up on the last 15 years.
We're talking about everything from dating mishaps
to mental health and maintaining friendships,
and asking the question, how do we survive adulthood?
Maybe we don't always have the answers.
But we're gonna figure it out together.
Come join us.
So pause that podcast you're listening to and subscribe to Ned's Declassified Podcast Survival Guide.
on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.